Game is a tool to entertain and relieve stress for the players. If the player was struggling with the design of the gameplay and confusing with the controlling buttons, this will result the players to get annoyed and have less interest in the game. That's why user interface must meet with the user experience in order to understand the player's thought and style to make the game meets the goals of entertain players at their best. Here is the short brief about the type of game and game story. Final Fantasy XV is the 15th main installment in the main Final Fantasy series. The story focuses on Noctis Lucis Caelum, a prince from the kingdom of Lucis who fights to reclaim his throne and must go on to fulfill a greater destiny. Final Fantasy XV is open-world and action role-playing game which the gameplay features an open-world environment and makes use of the ActiveX battle system, a real-time battle system. Through the gameplay, players will traversable with his friends and chocobos which enables to take on a variety of quests, explore, and play mini-games. In our test process, we start off by creating some plan on the test. We use a gray box test, so we can help the testers out with their struggles. Then, we think about the suitable stage and choose the one that we will let the players will do the test on. The stage we decided to settle with is called The Sword in the Waterfall. In this stage, the player need to do a mission to collect the royal weapon, the Lied beyond the Loyal Tomb in this cave full of monsters. In our process, we come up with 5 research question or a rule that we set up to limit the boundary of each player's gameplay. We require them to use 2 types of game console, which is Xbox controller and a normal PC mouse. First, we think that we will let our testers test the game for 20 minutes per round for 2 rounds each. More importantly, we want each players to use 2 different kinds of weapon, so we decide to require the players to use daggers and greatsword. We also let players walk on foot for 1 round and another round we let them to use Chocobo, one of our riding system that allows the testers to move around faster, to travel around the map. Lastly, the last research question we set up is to let the players experience the driving system of the game. We will let the players choose between 2 types of driving system. The auto mode and the manual mode. One of each type of driving mode will only be using for 1 round of the test, just like how we do with the weapons. The last process of the planning is that we try to ask around and find suitable testers for our game test. We end up having a list of 10 players that 8 of them are players without any experience and the others 2 are players who have experience with Final Fantasy game series before. For the second step of our setup process, we set up an estimate plan of the overall game testing periods. After we know our estimated schedule, we prepare our equipments needed for the test. Moreover, we create lists of before and after question for the testers to answer. So we can know more about each of the testers' behavior and experiences. Then, our test begin. So what is UI/UX? UI or user interface is the graphic or the design of how the buttons, color, images, text, and any visual elements that players interact with will look like, to make the game more attractive. Visually stimulating and themed appropriately match the purpose and style of the game. While UX or user experience will determine how easy or difficult for the players to interact with those visual elements in the game. To determine that the player will not confusing with the position of the buttons. Also, to make sure that the players will take a few moments to learn about the gameplay and can play games smoothly. UI of Final Fantasy XV is quite good, but there's still 2 different spots that people are complaining on the UIs of the game system. 1. Chocobo controlling is weirdly mapped. Comparing the buttons together, when the main character is walking on foot, pressing on the moving buttons will make the character sprint. But we need to press RT button in Xbox console or the B button to sprint. This is one of the confusion that occur when the players are using the 2 systems. 2. Terrible interaction prompts. When we want to pick up the item opening the door in Final Fantasy XV or even talking to the NPC. We always struggle with the fact that when we press the button to do the action we want. It always ends up with the result that our character jump up and down in front of the NPC, items or the door. Instead of proceeding forward, the player need to press the button many times. Of 9 things that the UX designer determined that these little elements will help the players understand the gameplay more and can play it smoothly. 1. Mini navigation map and navigator icon. This little icon map on the up right corner of the screen will help the players know the route of which directions they should go. And if the player panning the camera and put the exclamation mark with the red color icon on the top of the map, it will leads to the destination. 2. Potion tab. Whenever the players want to using the potion and open this tab, the gameplay will pause automatically to let the player choose the best potion for healing. And make the players relieve that they will not get attacked by those monster at those moment. 3. Sound effect for different kind of situation. Sound effects make the player understand the situations and can tells the emotion of gameplay. Whenever the player was in the monsters area, there will be thrilling sound and red line effects to warning the player for the danger. Or showing the report card when the players leaving the monsters area. 4. Offers chocobo for player. There are some moment that the player must self-traveling to the destination which it was a long distance. So the designer offers chocobo, the bird, for the players to enjoy the ride with its cute appearance and jumping. Which these way, player can access through the place that the car can't get in. 5. Various accessibility of the controller. Even the player using different controller like Play 4 controller or Xbox controller to playing the game, there were no problem with remembering all those buttons. Because both of the controllers have slightly difference in the controllings which the players will take just a few moments to remember those buttons. 6. Buttons navigator. When there are items you can pick up or area you can walk to, the system will help remind you the buttons that you can press to continue the action. 7. Additional healing. Sometimes during the quest the players might run out of healing items, but the system provide a system that if you are near your friend's NPC, they will come and tag our character and will heal of HP for some amount. 8. Different color damage numbers show when hit them. When attacking an enemies, the damage will always show when the players land each attack. Each damage have different color and white is normal damage. Orange is heavy damage and purple means the attack damage is lower than normal. 9. Distance number. When the players are walking around the maps or even driving to find the destination location, the game system will show the distance number of how far you are from your marked location. So it will help the players decide how they will travel to that destination. In our test, we have 10 players that come to test our game for us. We categorize those players into 6 different groups based on their behavior and play styles. 1. The hot-head player, who play and become very hot-head during the gameplay. They show out this behavior through their actions, such as clicking very hard while battling with enemies or even swear many times. At first, the testers can go with the flow, but when they feel more annoyed, we can notice it because they've been hit by monsters more often and the blocking is completely useless at this point because they click the block button repeatedly that ruin their steps. So it is harder for them to avoid the attack when they lost their combo. The reason why this action occur is because the players think that if they click more repeatedly they will be able to hit the monsters more often, but what they get is totally the opposite. This type of players take lots of time to find the final destination because they are annoyed and make they lost their main focus. That make it difficult for them to complete the mission that have been given in time. 2. Runaway type. The second type of players are those who always run away whenever they encounter monsters. When the players run into a group of monsters, they will immediately try to find a way that they can use for, such as warp up a cliff and drop down to another place, run through the monsters to get to the path closest to them, or even jump off the cliff where the monsters are. If the monsters appear they will start to be panic. We can notice this by seeing they turn around the camera very fast and warp a lot to get as far as they can from the monsters. The reason why they escape is because they feel that it is unnecessary to get into a fight and they think it will be faster to complete the stage if they can go through the monster quickly. We notice something that the 2 testers that are these type of people escape monsters in a totally different way. First one is a type that escaped fast but never success to cross the path because he did not look around or check properly about the path he need to go. Comparing to another person, she always see the path and that makes she can go forward without an problem and she know where she can escape and where she cannot. 3. Chocobo affection. This type of player have lots of affection toward one of the game riding system or the chocobo bird. Whenever he is riding the chocobo bird, he will always sing the chocobo theme song. Even the chocobo make sound, he also do the same sound as the chocobo. Whenever he have a chance to call out the chocobo, he will immediately summon it because he want to hear the song and cry of the chocobo. The reason he have this behavior all come from his own affection toward chocobo. He said that whenever he hear the chocobo music and sound, it hype him up and make him want to sing along with the song. This can be say it just a personal affection. 4. The lost one. The lost one type of people are those who always lost their way while find the final destination of the quest. The navigation map did not have any benefit to these type of people. They just follow all their own thought and run toward the path that they think is the right path without considering that this path is not the right way to go to the next stage. These type of players always go off the path quite often because if they see any path that cannot go through they will just turn their head to another way. Even if the way they are looking at is the right way but they just need to complete a mini quest to go through. Moreover, they did not look around hard enough because sometimes the path is very narrow and if they not look carefully they will just look over all of them. Sometimes this action happen because they are not used with the camera system of the game and just turn the camera way too fast, so they miss that important detail. This behavior mostly come from personal thought and behavior. These people think that if we cannot get through here, they just need to find another way without considering that they need to look at the icon that pop up to help them navigate that which way is the right way to go. More importantly, it just that because of the slow understanding make them cannot understand what need to do if the path is not open for them and just skip the way to find other. 5. The survivor. This type of player is the most experienced player of all the testers type. The player know what to do and where to go immediately after she start the test. She can attack the monsters without any problem, such as not used with the weapon or the control of the system. She goes straight to the entrance of the cave and then easily go through the path of the cave. When she attacking the monster she has her own style of attacking and she know quite well when is the time she need to block the enemy's attack and parry back to damage it. More importantly, she always look after her health and always make sure that her health is always full, if it is not she will use the healing set immediately. She follow every rules without ease and is very used to them compared to other type of players. She know how to use all the button both on foot and when using chocobo. So the game's UI problem did not affect her at all. 6. The rule breaker. The rule breaker is a type of person who never follow anything we set. This person just do whatever she want, such as walking to the cave when they are told to ride the chocobo there. She will try to find the cave's entrance at first but after that she will just go her way. During the time that she still follow the right path toward the cave. Then, not for so long, she just give up and decide to break the rule. The first action she did is call out the chocobo when she been restrained not to, and another action that she did is that instead of doing the quest she just used the driving mode to drive back home. And then she used chocobo to continue back to the town and just wander around the place without the idea of going back to do the quest properly. So she decided to do some exploration instead of the mission she had been given. We see the result over again and compare it with the Nelson's rules. For the first rule, learnability, in Ben, we have the errors rule. In Final Fantasy XV, there are errors that make people feel irritated. One of the errors is that the interaction prompt of the game is very bad. It did not interact directly but instead it make the character jump up and down instead. There are lots more errors in both UI and UX of the game that already make some people leave the game. Experience on the game that they play on PC. It takes times to make the testers get used to the game controlling system but still people take not so long to get used to it. Coming up next is the rule of efficiency. During the gameplay test, everyone all learn what each buttons do but only one of them can use it efficiently in both of the console and about 2 people can. used it efficiently in one of each controllers. The rest of them did not master how to control and use skills that been given by the game. All of the problem come from the confusion they have with the button, such as the walking and the chocobo. The button is differently mapped, so almost every one of them are having problem remembering which button is for what kind of action and which interface is used for what action. Also, some of the testers say that the buttons that is used on the game differ from many other games that is the same genre they have been playing before. That can conclude that Final Fantasy XV still have to improve about the controlling buttons. Then, we have the errors rule. In Final Fantasy XV, there are errors that make people feel irritated. One of the errors is that the interaction prompt of the game is very bad. As we say in the UI problem before, it take time to do one action, such as picking item or talking, because when we click the button, it did not interact directly but instead it make the character jump up and down instead. There are lots more errors in both UI and UX of the game that already make some people leave the game. The third rule is memorability. As for this rule, we see over those who have touched the game before, just a little bit is fine. The results is that the testers can only remember the basic buttons and only one game interface. The buttons they can remember is jumping, rolling, walking and turn around the camera. For the interface, they can only remember the healing set interface. Other than that, we need to tell them all over again, to remind them of which is for which. As a result, no one can remember everything after they haven't been playing for a while. The game did have a reminder on side of the screen, but people do not really care about it. So to help people more, the game should make those buttons become more clearer and interact more attention to those who cannot remember the buttons and interface. Finally, we have the satisfaction rule. The final rule is based on how happy the people feel about the game interface and controlling system. From all the question we ask the testers, they are quite satisfied with the control of the PC mouse because it is not so different from the other PC game they played before. Comparing to the Xbox, people say it quite hard to get used with and it take times to remember buttons because lots of them are different from the other game basic buttons, and also they mapped it very weirdly. For the interface, they say that it is not so bad, but they think that it can be better, such as making the navigation maps more wider, so they can see it more clearer. As a result, there's still many places in the game where the game can be improved and needed to be improved. So we have testing 10 testers who was in age of 19 to 21 years old, consists both of male and female. Among 10 nominees, we let the player take both test of PC mouse and Xbox controller for 20 minutes in each round. Which the result shows that 6 of the nominees are capable with the PC mouse more than Xbox controller. Among 6 players, half of them was in the Hot Head group, 2 of them was from the Lost One group and other was from Chocobo Affection group. Due to reason of they have an experience with other kinds of game that using PC mouse and never using Xbox controller before. On the other hand, the player who was capable with the Xbox controller consists of Runaway group, the Survivor, and the Rule Breakers. Due to the reason of they have experience with the Play 4 games, so they are more capable with the Play 4 controller that have similar controls with the Xbox. For another research question that we required the players to using both different kinds of weapons in each round, which is daggers and greatsword. And the result shows that 80% of the player are more capable with the light and fast attack weapons like daggers more than the greatsword. Even the attack power was lower, but due to how fast can it attack the monsters, most of the players can control it better.
Which the rest of the players who can't pass are struggling with the confusion of the buttons en route. Also, they are poor at control the blocking movement that they were attacked, which they will not fight if the gameplay didn't force them to. And they will try to avoid the monsters as much as they can.
Only one players can achieve the mission within the given times in both of 2 tests. Which this player have once played this game in the Play 4, and another 2 player can achieve the mission within the given times in mouse test and Xbox test.